We're here for episode 2 of the 2020 Dana White Contender series. Coming off a really good first week. Did all right there. The one bet that I had on it cashed through. So looking forward to speaking about this card. This one here is actually a better one than last week. I thought you could kind of see where some of the wins were coming from in that one. This one here I think is going to be a little bit closer. So I'm thoroughly looking forward to really getting into these fights here. If you can please like, comment, subscribe. I got a lot more views on that video than I actually thought I was going to get. So I really do appreciate that. And yeah, if you can just comment who your picks are for this week. If you see any confident bets, I don't think there's any lines out yet. So it'll be interesting to see what they're kind of lining some of these young kids at. But I am looking forward to really talking you through some of the fighters I really enjoyed watching in this one here. So we're starting off in the middleweight division with Anthony Adams against Impa Kasanganay, I think that's how you pronounce it. And both guys are people who have fought in the Dana White Contender series before. This is all the kind of aspects of maybe being a really close fight. But I'm more on the Impa side. I like kind of what I see from him. Anthony Adams, to me, he doesn't throw enough. And he did in his first fight on the Contender series where he just had no volume whatsoever, and I did not like that. He has fought since then. He beat a kind of middling kind of welterweight in Josh Caven back in January at LFA, but he trains out an elevation fight team, so he's got that to his advantage there. Impa to me is the bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic guy in my opinion. And I think Dana, I watched an interview where he says that Dana, he was impressed with him, but it's just a little bit too early. But I'm a little bit surprised he's not fought since then. So taking a full year off, hopefully we see Impa make some big kind of changes in his game, and he can come out here and get the win. I've watched a couple of interviews with him where he said personally that he's going to try and push the kind of letter a little bit here, where he's going to try and push himself a little bit more and try and see if he can take more risks, which ultimately can open up more for Adams here, considering he's got double the amount of experience, nearly 3 or 4 more fights experience than what Adams than what Impa's got. So I'm a little bit worried about the kind of experience side of things. But he has coming off a good win over Kylan Hill, who I think was undefeated at the time as well. But I do think he has to kind of throw himself into it a little bit more and show a little bit more urgency. And most of his wins, I think, are via submission and decision. So yeah, so four decisions, 2 submissions. So, but I was impressed with the Kylan Hill fight. You can see a lot with Impa that you really do like. But again, he's very young, very green against a very experienced guy in Adams here. But I just don't like his output. So for me, I think Impa is going to push himself a little bit more. I think as the fight goes on later, I think he kind of takes over this fight. And I think he could get maybe a 3rd round TKO. But like I say, out of all the fights on this one, this is one of the ones I'm not particularly confident about at all. So, but I'll take Impa for the win there. Where are we? T.J Laramie against Daniel Swain. Now, I knew about T.J Laramie. If you watch James Lynch, he's been interviewing this guy for years. I've knew about him. He's been fighting for 4 or 5 years. He's got a brother that fights as well. Coming out of Canada, you know, they've got fighters coming out pretty regularly, but this guy had a lot of hype behind him. And I was interested. I never really watched much of him. I watched a little bit, but I was interested in kind of going back and really watching pretty much the majority of his career, which I did. And I'm going to start off with, if you've not seen T.J Laramie against Vince Murdoch, go and watch that fight for the simple reason I think it's one of the worst judges' decisions I've ever seen. And T.J Laramie at the time was 18 years old. I think that he was still new in the game, 3-0 I think he was at the time there, and he was beating a guy with 5, 6, 7 more fights than him at that point and doing it handily, and somehow they gave it to Vince Murdoch. I've no idea how they managed to give that fight to him. Now, he has got a couple of losses to the same guy, actually, outside of the Murdoch loss, to Alex Morgan, where I thought the first one, I thought the ref did a bad job in that one, in my opinion. He did get hit clean by a couple of really straight right hands on the end of his nose. And he did go down after that kind of second one that really landed. But I thought he was in a single leg. He wasn't out. The referee just jumped in too quickly and stopped the fight, which I didn't really like at the time. I thought that TJ was kind of he was still going, he was still moving, he's still trying to keep himself in the fight. And then he lost a kind of rematch of that soon afterwards. But what I like about T.J Laramie, he's a very educated fighter with his footwork, with his attacks off. I love his attacks off the left side. He doubles up his jab, comes over the top with a beautiful overhook right hand. He can go to I think it's an uppercut to the body, which I really like. He stepped into that really well. Like I say, that comes off his footwork, and he can grapple. You can see the kid grappling a lot as well. And then you've got Daniel Swain here, who this guy might have one of the kind of bigger records at the Dana White Contender Series we've ever seen. He's coming. I think this is going to be his 30th fight. 20 wins, I think it is. A lot of wins via submission. Very aggressive in the grappling. I watched his kind of recent fight where he's been out there in China and then won and really just submitting a kind of lot of kind of Chinese up and coming prospects and kind of having his way with them, but very aggressive with his takedowns, good wrestling. On the feet he's okay, but I think if you can take over on the feet, you can break him. And if you watch the Julian Erosa fight, he momentarily gets Erosa down, but when Erosa's on the feet, he really starts to light him up, and he really just starts to beat him up. And then, in my opinion, he kind of quit on the stool in that fight. And then I think it was the Victor fight, I can't remember the guy's surname, where he kind of came out really, really quick, but was eating leg kicks for days. And then he was on his back on the ground, and just this guy was leg kicking him, standing over him, just leg kicking him to oblivion. And he turned around and just tapped out. He kind of quit himself a little bit there. But the guy is a very, very hard-nosed, skilled kind of wrestler. Will be in your face, will look to take you down, and will look to kind of be very, very dangerous on the ground. And he's got a dirty choke in him, so he has. But I like what I see from Laramie. I think that he's got all the tools really here to beat a Daniel Swain. I think he is better on the feet. I think he's faster, he's more fluid, better footwork, better angles, more varied with his strikes. And I think he can stop the majority of the takedowns, and I think he just outstrikes him. Potentially could get a finish, because I think Daniel does kind of doubt in himself once he can't get the fight to the ground. So I'm going to take another third round TKO for T.J Laramie. If not, a pretty comprehensive decision. I don't know whether that'll be enough to sign him. I know he's been out in Vegas for the last 4 or 5 weeks with Cody Stamen, so he's been getting good looks, good training out there with that guy. But I've got T.J Laramie for the win there. Next up, I see there, Curtis, they're on Fight Pass. They're on UFC Fight Pass. That's where you will find the Dana White Contender Series. Women's strawweight division, we've got Vanessa Demopoulus against Cory McKenna from the kind of Cage Warrior side over here in the UK. I'm going to go with Cory McKenna here. I never knew much about Demopoulus. I had heard interviews in the past, because she's a girl, I think she was an exotic dancer, which is not something you see kind of too much in the sport there. So she's left that behind. She went and won the strawweight championship in LFA. But if you watch that fight, she kind of pulls something out her backside in round number 5 for 4.5 rounds. She gets beat out really, really bad. I think it was Sam Hughes or Shan Hughes, I remember was really beating her up, was well and truly on her way to winning that fight. And then Vanessa pulls out a submission, which is something that she can do. I think both girls on the feet, I think Vanessa's a little bit more varied, but I think Cory's pretty slow on the feet. Vanessa will pull guard, will drop to her back, will look for submissions very easily. Cory, I think, will like that personally, because I think one of her biggest skills is her ground and pound. She moves to positions very well, but like I say, her striking to me is a little bit slow, a little bit predictable. She's very hittable herself. I think her head can be left in there, but I don't think Vanessa's got the big striking tools to really hurt her with that striking. She, in my opinion, is definitely going to drop to her back and look to submit Cory McKenna. And if Cory can initially miss or just not get submitted, I think that her ground and pound could pay huge dividends in this fight here. Cory's lost one fight. She fought a little bit close with McCall Designy, which was, I think she probably still should have got the nod, but she did fight too close to the point where you're putting the judges in your fight there, and you don't really want that. But I like her ground and pound. She has got a good gas tank once she gets on top. Would it surprise me if Vanessa submits her? Probably not. That, in my opinion, is her best path to victory, is through her submissions, because she is very tricky with her triangle attacks and so on. But for me, if she flops to her back, I think Cory will jump into her guard, will look to unleash some ground and pound, beat her up through that. So I've got Cory McKenna for the win. I think she'll probably be an underdog as well. I'm not super confident about playing that. I don't know what I'm going to play this week. There's a play coming up shortly that I quite like, but I don't know what the odds are going to be, obviously. So, but I'm going to take Cory McKenna via decision in that one there. Plus, she's at Team Alpha Male. She's been out there for a little bit. She's been out there the last kind of couple of years. She's only like 19, 20 years old, so she's very, very young. I like Cory McKenna just to maybe just tough this one out, but it could be close. Bantamweight bout, we've got Adrian Yanez against Brady Huang. I like Adrian Yanez in this one. When I watch Brady Huang, I think that he's long. I like his kicks, which is my biggest worry for Yanez here, because I think he is open to leg kicks. I'm a little bit afraid that he can throw a high kick up and maybe catch Yanez, who sometimes his hands can drop a little low. But I like what I see from Yannis, and I like his record. I know you look at his record, he's like 11-3. His losses are to pretty much really good fighters, guys that are in the UFC, have been in the UFC. If you're looking for a fight to watch for Adrian Yanez, it was probably the Kyle Estrada fight from the LFA. Great fight. Hard-nosed guy, really in your face, and will throw a lot of big strikes. Huang, to me, like I say, his biggest weapons, I think, is him on the ground. But I don't think he's great down there. I think he's got a decent double leg. I've seen some really sloppy single leg kind of offense with his takedowns. His hands, I don't think, are all that good. I think his kicking attack is decent, though, so you have to watch out for that. But I just like the aggressiveness of Yannis. I think that he's fought the better caliber opposition. I think he's been in the higher spots. I think I watched a couple of interviews there that the kind of the Contender series is all about building narrative around these fighters' kind of backstory, whether their dads pass away like Adrian's did, Vanessa being an exotic dancer, whatever it may be. But I like Adrian Yanez in this one. I'm pretty confident that he can actually get it done. I'm looking forward to seeing what line he is. I think he will be the favourite. But if I could get anything below -150, I think I'll be happy with that. But I'm not a good guy at predicting lines, so who knows what's going to happen there. So I'm going to take Adrian Yanez. I actually think he's going to knock out Brady Huang. I think he is. I actually think he's going to get a contract. I think he's going to fight very, very big in this one and win himself a contract. I think his time, he's right for the UFC, in my opinion, at this point. He will be 12-3 at that point. I like him to potentially get a contract this week. And the main event, we've got Joe Pyfer against Dustin Stolfzus. To me, I think that Pfeifer, when I look at him, Pyfer, I should say, he's a wrestler by trade. He's got pretty questionable defense with his striking. I think he does get hit a fair bit, which I'm a little bit worried about. But I think that he has the opportunity to maybe get this fight to the ground where he could load out in some ground and pound. But I think Stollfus, in my opinion, is really, really good on the mat himself. He's more a kind of jiu-jitsu guy. I think he's got a clear advantage down there if he gets the right position. He's a guy that's fought out of Germany a lot, and he kind of came across my radar when he beat Jonas Bilstein, who fought in Cage Warriors. Actually, I think he won the title in Cage Warriors. Who the guy's got a lot of experience, probably double the amount of experience that what Stollfus has, and he went out there and just did work on him in the first couple of rounds, got him out of there. His last fight against Nakafukev, I think it is, took him down there, got a beautiful twister submission. That was really nice to see. But like I say, this is definitely probably, I don't want to say a jump up in caliber opposition, but a different kind of opposition. American wrestler. I don't think he probably had much of that fighting out of Germany and in the German fight scene. I know for a fact you'll not see a kind of wrestling dominant guy pretty much. But he's got a guy here in Pfeifer who I think will definitely look to take the fight to the mat, because like I said, I do think he's got defensive frailties. He does put his head in some bad spots, which I don't like. You've seen that in the Patel fight where he put his head in and got guillotine choked in the second round. I did not like that at all. I think Stollfus is a very crafty guy with his jiu-jitsu. But he is coming out of Ring of Combat, which has got a really good past of having fighters in the UFC coming through there. They usually do quite well. But for me, I like Dustin Stolfzus. I think he's a little bit better on the feet. I think his jiu-jitsu is definitely better. And the only worry I've kind of got for that is if he gets kind of laid on. But I think he's got the jiu-jitsu to maybe get out of positions, maybe grab like a Kimura sweep or go for the Kimura to get back to his feet. So for me, I've got Dustin Stolfzus here. I think he outlasts him. I think he submits him in the mid to kind of late part of this fight. So Dustin Stolfzus is going to be my pick there. So that's my 5 picks for the Dana White Contender Series this week, guys. I appreciate the few of you that are in the chat there. I appreciate the thumbs up. And if you can continue to do that, I'd be much appreciated. But I want to know your guys' pick for this week and how you see things going on the Dana White Contender Series. So I might be back this afternoon for the UFC 252 picks. If you're around, come and watch me then. Until then, all the very, very best, and enjoy the Dana White Contender Series tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, depending on where you're watching around the world. All the very best, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.